how do you know what consciousness is and what its various states are? You know this by having those states, like being in pain, and by simply attending to them through first-person introspective. Am I in pain? I don't know. Let me do a whole bunch of tests before I answer that question. Ow. Okay, I'm in pain. There,
Yeah.
test over.
Right. So that's his first way to help us to understand what consciousness is all about, right? The distinction between how we describe physical objects and how we describe states of consciousness. Third person perspective versus first person point of view. Secondly, he says states of consciousness are best defined ostensively. That is by citing or pointing to specific examples. He tells us, in fact, a fairly good characterization of consciousness is this. Consciousness is what you are aware of when you engage in first-person introspection, right? So that's the idea. He gives us a list of 5 kinds of conscious states that he says exist. First, there is sensation. This is a state of awareness or sentience, right? So, for instance, he says it's a conscious awareness of a sound or a pain, something like that, right? That's sensation. Thought is a mental semantic content that can be expressed in a sentence. So that's the belief is a person's view, accepted in various degrees of strength, of how things really are. So belief is what the way we think things are, right? That's belief. Desire, he tells us, is a certain inclination to do or have or experience certain things or to avoid them. And then active will is a choice. It's an exercise of power or endeavoring to act, usually for the sake of some purpose. So these 5 things then, sensation, thought, belief, desire, and act of the will are what he calls the 5 kinds of conscious states.
So hopefully you can see that going towards his point that he's making is, where do you do your testing on those things? Where do you find the ability to put it in a centrifuge and separate it from its parts? Where do you put it under a microscope? Doesn't seem like you are able to.